Why hello there dear viewers and commenters, Robert Dewald here again with another tutorial. I've got many views and comments on my video, which is kinda surprising because I didn't expect many views at all. Now lots and lots of things have changed since I made that video, and a lot of things have become much easier to do. So I'm here to give you an update video on all the things that have changed since the last video. Now in case you watched the first video already, you'll know that I worked with the so-called chroma key effect. I'll be dropping that completely in this tutorial to make it much more simple than the last one. This way you will also get better performance in Sony Vegas even if you don't have the most powerful computer out there. So let's start this tutorial from zero again. Now instead of going to Paint and messing around with blue rectangles, you'll be able to go into Photoshop instantly. Once you got Photoshop open, you want to go to File, New, and here you are presented with this menu. Now here you need to do two things. First of all, set your resolution you want your video to be. For me that will be 1080p, which is 1920 by 1080. And the next thing you need to do is go to Background Contents. You need to change it to Transparent, so that you don't have a background at all. This will eliminate the need for a blue screen. Now click OK and you will be presented with your workspace. If you need help for placing your text perfectly in the middle of your screen, all you need to do is create a ruler. Just drag down from the top of your screen and it will snap automatically in the middle. You can also do this on the y-axis and it will snap to the middle as well. This will mark off the center of your screen and will make it easier for you to align your text. All you need to do now is click on the text icon and start typing the title of your song. You can click anywhere on your screen to start typing. Today I will be making Don't Stop Me Now by Queen. Now I just select all the text by hitting Ctrl and A simultaneously on my keyboard, and I make the text smaller so it fits my screen better. As you start moving your text around, you will see that it snaps onto the ruler. This is why it's much easier to use ruler than just position your text with your own eye. What I just did is select all the text and change its color to white, but this is an optional step as you don't need to do this, as we will apply a gradient layer on top anyhow. Since my last tutorial video, I stopped using bevel and emboss. Since then I switched over to drop shadow and gradient overlay. Now also, as I mentioned in my last video, everything you do here is personal preference. You can follow what I'm doing exactly, or you can just do your own style, it's all up to you. As you can see, I just mess around with the options here under the drop shadow menu, and I just adjust them to my liking. I'll give you a bit more in-depth look of my gradient settings though. So here what you do first is reverse the overlay. Then you change the style to radial. This will make it a circle shape. And then you can just go up to the gradients and adjust the colors to match your style. I usually set my color gradients to go from a light gray to an even lighter gray, so first I set my first value, which will be the darker gray. It will look about like this. Click the OK button and you can go double click on the second one, and this will set to an almost white kind of gray. It's almost white. So click the OK and it will be applied. At this point our title is done. I'm just going to select all the text and change my font to Vegas Pro. This is the font that I use for all of my videos. When you're done aligning your text, you can just go up to File and click Save As. Now also pay good attention, this time you want to save as a PNG picture, not as a JPEG picture, because PNG allows you to have transparency in your pictures, unlike JPEG. Now, I've said it in my previous video, and I'm gonna say it again. If you want to make multiple videos, make sure to create a folder for each video you want to make. If you don't, all your files will be scattered through each other and you will not be able to find anything. I just use the title of the song as the name of the folder. When you're done with that, you're gonna double click the folder and you're going to save the title picture you just created. I'm gonna give it the name DSMN title, which is short for Don't Stop Me Now title, obviously. Now I know some of you people laughed at my last video with BJ title, which obviously stands for Billie Jean, but I guess you guys think differently than I do, so good job. And now I have something rather important to say. The first picture that you will save, in this case the title file, should always be saved in PSD and in PNG formats. So you will always have your project file, the PSD, that you can continue from if something fails later. Another thing, I think Sony Vegas does recognize PSD files and it will display them, but they will run a bit slower than PNGs for some reason. In my theory, you can just save all your image files in PSD format, which will occupy less space, but it might run slower. So if you know more about this, feel free to correct me on this one. For this video, I will be saving all my picture files in PNG format though. So just expand the format menu and look for PNG. Click on it and click on save. Make the compression to none, which will be faster and will not lose any quality, and click OK. Next, you're going to want to search for the lyrics of the song. I already have a window open with the lyrics for Don't Stop Me Now by Queen, so I'm just going to use this one. Now just select the first line of text and copy it into Photoshop. Whoops, not this one, but this one. So here you select everything and press Ctrl and V, or you can just right click and select paste. Now you're just going to align your text so that it looks good and doesn't hang off on the sides. And go up to File, Save As, and Save as a PNG. But this time we're going to name it 1. This will be our first line, so this is going to be line 1. Once it's saved, you can just select all your text, delete it, go over to your browser and select the second line of text in your lyrics. You can just copy it, go over to Photoshop and paste it again. Align it so that it looks good and doesn't hang off on the sides, and just save it again as a PNG. Now from this part, of course, it's really intuitive. It's just doing the same thing all over again until you have all the lines of your song. When you're done with all your pictures in Photoshop, you can just exit out of this window, but I'm just gonna minimize them. Oh, sorry about these windows. After this, you are clear to go to your Sony Vegas. Now once it opens, you will be presented with your workspace. Now this may look a bit different for you than for me, but that's because everybody can customize it just the way he wants it to be. As you can see, I can just drag things around, but the main layout will stay about the same. Now first thing I do here is go to File, Import, and I import all my files that I will need for this project. First I take care about the pictures themselves, and then all the optional things can come at last. With optional I mean intro, outro, logo in the video, pictures in the video, these kind of things. Once you import the pictures, you will see them under the Project Media tab. Next I will import my intro and my outro, but you know, these are the optional steps that I talked about just now. Well, what else could be important when making a music lyrics video? Well, of course the music itself, so let's go to Import, Media again, and we just browse for our music file. The big empty gray space on the bottom half of my screen, that is my timeline. Now I don't have anything on it yet, so I'm just gonna drag my intro file over it, and this will create two separate tracks. The track on the top is my video track, and the track on the bottom is my audio track. After this, what I'm gonna do is just adjust the length of my intro to my preference. And when that's done, I'm going to place my first line of text onto my timeline directly after my intro. I'm also going to place my music onto the audio track and make it fade in by dragging it into my intro track. And now you're just going to take all your picture files and place them into the right order according to the song. I'm just going to do this real time right now, but if you can't do it as quick as I do it, then you can of course just pause the song and adjust the duration of the individual pictures. And now I'm just going to speed up the footage so you can see how I do every part of my song. And another important thing is to never forget to save, because if you forget to save, there is an autosave feature in Sony Vegas, but if you forget to save, you will lose lots of work since that autosave only saves every 5 minutes or so. Now when you're done with that, your project should look somewhat like this. You should have one or more video tracks on top and one audio track on the bottom. And this is how your video should look right now. It should have no moving background and no animations. We'll take care of that in a second. Well, and now we're gonna look for a moving background. I'm gonna minimize this window and go into Chrome. And I have this website open, worshipbackgroundsforfree.com. I come here for all of my moving backgrounds, but of course you can use any website that you prefer. I also recommended this site in my last video, but I've noticed that they produce less and less wallpapers lately, and I'm not sure why they do that, but I think I might have to look for a new site soon. I found an abstract wallpaper that I think will fit with a song, so I'm just gonna click on background details and download links. And here you will have to scroll down till you see the .mov link. But for me the site doesn't load properly, but it's the third one here. Gonna click on it and it will start to download. Once the download finishes, you can just go back to Sony Vegas and import the downloaded file. You may remember that in my last video I used the chroma key effect, or the blue screen effect, to get rid of my wallpaper. Well, now I don't have a wallpaper at all, so I just don't need any of that. I can just drag my video file under the entire timeline and it will show behind the pictures. Now this is not a looping background, as I found out later, so I have some extra work to do, but if you have a looping background then you can just skip this part by clicking the screen now. Looping background basically means that the beginning of the video matches the end, so if you put them behind each other, they will just loop into each other nicely. This one doesn't do that, so I have to extend it and I have to fade them into each other, just like that. And this is how your project should look by now. You can of course ignore my outro and my intro, that is fully optional. If you have one it's good, if you don't it's also good, doesn't matter. Now once you're done with this, make sure to save, because this is really important. If you don't save you can lose lots of your work, so I suggest you save. And once that's done, you can see that I have a moving background behind my pictures. Now of course one thing that we still miss is the animations between the pictures, so we're just gonna do that now. You can find the transitions under the transition tab above the timeline. I'm just gonna zoom into my timeline so it's easier to add a transition later. Now I'm going to select all the pictures that I want my transitions to be applied to. I can do this by clicking the first image and shift clicking the last image. In order to apply the transition to all of these pictures, I'm gonna go up to the transitions menu and choose the transition that I wish. For this row I'm going to go with cascade from left to right, but you can choose any effect that you like. To apply the effect, you're going to drag the effect onto your timeline and drop it on the line where two of the images meet. And now if you play a fragment of the song, we can see that we have a transition between the two images. To show you the animations a bit smoother, I'm going to change the render quality to draw half. This will make the quality a bit lower, but it will make the animation much smoother. It looked a bit choppy there, but that's because my computer can't really handle the crossfading between the two background images under my audio track. Now you can apply transitions to the rest of the pictures as well. And when you're done with this, then you're basically done with your video. I'm just going to add a few things to my outro, and to the video as well. I'm going to add my logo on the bottom right corner, but for the rest, you're done. You can see that I have multiple video tracks here, that is for overlapping video footage only. But if you don't want any overlapping pictures, then you don't need multiple tracks, you can just use one. So what you should have now is one or more video tracks on top, one audio track in the middle, and one video track for your background on the bottom. The video track for your background can also be between your audio track and your top video track for your pictures, as long as it's just under the pictures, it can be anywhere. When you think you're done with your video, just go up to the top left corner of your timeline and drag out the little yellow triangle to the right side, so that it covers your entire video. Now you can just go up to the top left corner of your whole screen, click on File, Render As, and you'll get this option. In this box you can change the name of your video. I'm just going to change it to Don't Stop Me Now Lyrics. And then you can just go down into this little box below, and you will see that here you have all your formats that you can render in. I'm just going to render in .mp4, which is usually called main concept AVC. And in this menu we have lots of templates. I'm going to choose a template that I already have. Now your template could look a bit different, but it should look mainly similar to this. You can just change the resolution up there from 1080 to 720, or you can just keep it at 1080. You're gonna keep your FPS at 30 because YouTube will convert it back to 30 if you put any higher, and if you put it lower then it will just be choppy. And then your BPS, I'd change it to 16 million, but that's because I want really good quality. You can just leave it at 14 million. You may also have noticed that I checked a little checkbox above the BPS settings called 2-pass. What that will do is just render your video twice to ensure that there are no errors in it and that the quality is really optimal and good. You can leave encode mode at automatic, but I changed it to render using CPU only, because if I don't do that, then my render crashes. It says render crashed due to unknown error or something like that. So if you run into that problem, just make sure to change the encode mode to CPU only. Now we can just click over to the audio tab, and here we're going to change our BPM to 192. This will give us some good audio quality. In the system and the project tab we don't have much to do, so we can just click the OK button and we can start to render our video. And now your render starts. In a few minutes or hours your render will stop. Hopefully not because it crashed, but because it's done. And when it's done, you will have your video. Thank you all very much for watching. I hope you learned something. And make sure to check out the Don't Stop Me Now lyrics video by clicking on the screen right now. Oh, and I almost forgot. Happy holidays! See you in the next video.